Get ready for the world's greatest Arsenal podcast. Welcome to another podcast by Guns and Yellow Ribbons. Enjoy the show.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Guns and Yellow Ribbons, episode number 207. Blimey, where's the time gone? We are joined today by my good sidekick, my good friend, old man Trev. And we're doing a little bit of a crossover. We've got Bergkamp Wonderland Danny. Danny's going to join us from Bergkamp Wonderland. And we've got another Dan, but I'm going to call him Pottsy, because that's what I call him as my mate. Pottsy from LJTV and, his own channel. And he's originally started on here, Dan. Dan, Pottsy, we're going to call you Pottsy from now on. It just makes it easier. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, man. It's great to be back on. I love the podcast. I love you lot. And it's great to have Danny on as well. It's always a good laugh speaking to Danny. And normally whenever I'm on, Danny makes me laugh. So it's nice to actually share a podcast with him where I can laugh with him at the same time. But it's a pleasure to be on with you, gentlemen. And I'm looking forward to tonight.
Danny, how are you, mate? You got a second monitor all up and running, some fancy sound system and everything else now?
Oh, you were here listening to me and Trev talk. Yes, it's my mate Tony, West Ham fan, the one who came to the 1998 FA Cup final with me. He said I've got to say hello to him. Hello, Tony. Cheers. He just spent the last 2 hours setting up my new monitor and my Bose sound bar. But that was 30 quid. It's not new. I wouldn't spend buy a Bose thing for 4 months. It's lovely to be here again. See, I'm yabbering. What you two need to do, or especially you, Fergus, you need to go, Danny, shut up. Like Carl does at my pod. Otherwise, I'll be telling you what underwear I'm wearing and what I'm having for dinner and how my cats are. So I'm delighted.
Underwear? I didn't think you wore underwear, mate. I didn't think you wore underwear.
I thought it was all nothing from the desk, from the waist down. So
that's a good. I don't actually own a single pair, so this is why me and Dan have a special relationship, because he knows all about what I keep in my underwear drawer. Cats.
Pottsy, Trev, help me, please.
No, I'm just sitting on the side here listening to these great guests tonight. I'm looking forward to this. By the way, Fergus, you did say before we came on air, Trev, you do the comments, and as soon as we've come on air, you put a comment on the screen, Ferg. So you're in the bad books before we even start. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this, mate. We've got lots to talk about tonight. Mostly Arsenal related, because we're an Arsenal podcast, but there's one or two things in football in general I'd like to touch on tonight, not because it's football in general particularly, but because it affects our great football club as well as every other club. So yeah, looking forward to it, folks.
Yeah, we're going to look at obviously we haven't been on for a week, and in that week we've had 2 games. We lost and went out of the cup in the semi-final, second leg to Liverpool, and then we had the weekend where we had that Burnley defeat. So we will touch on those. But the other topics that we want to go through are, we're going to touch on Granit Xhaka. We're going to look at Lacazette as a point man. We'll go into the Burnley game in a little bit more detail. And the aftermath of the Burnley game, some booing, the referees and how the referees go, and Arteta. And the Arteta discussion I'm really looking forward to, because myself and Dan have had a couple of chats on the phone recently, and our opinions are different, but at least the good thing is we share our views, and we respect each other's views, and we debate it sensibly, unlike Twitter sphere and Facebook sphere. Which is just nuts. So let's look at Liverpool game. So the Liverpool game, we had not the best squad available. Well, I suppose it's the best squad we could have available. We had Ramsdale in goal, Tomiyasu, White, Gabriel, Tierney, Lokonga, Odegaard, Saka, Smith-Rowe, Martinelli, and Lacazette. The bench was a little bit more weak. But what did we make of that game? We went in there with a 0-0, Trev. A fantastic performance that we talked about up in Anfield. The build-up. The build-up at the Emirates. That's the build-up at the Emirates, where they had the light show. Apparently, there was a huge issue with people getting in, and I spoke to John Malone, and he said it took him. He missed the first 20 minutes of the game because there was an issue with the turnstiles, and because it was a different crowd, everyone was on barcodes and everything else, so it made it a bit more difficult. So John Malone missed the first 20 minutes, which was the best 20 minutes of the game, Trev.
Yeah, they only opened the turnstile 75 minutes before kickoff, so Arsenal didn't help us out there. If they'd have asked any of us, we'd have said it's a different crowd for a League Cup game, and you need to get them open earlier. But I was, before the game, I was full of confidence, boys. After the effort at Liverpool and what we did, and we had our best back five out, we had our goalkeeper and our best back four. I really fancied us to win the game. I really, honestly fancied us to win the game.
Me too.
As it turned out on the night, Liverpool were too good for us. They beat us, and we lacked an outlet and we lacked a forward player. But overall, I think that we were beaten by a better side on the night. I'm gutted about it because we didn't perform to the standard we did up at Liverpool. With the effort levels didn't seem so high for some reason, but I really thought we were good enough to beat Liverpool at Emirates. I was actually, for once in my life, confident we would. It hit hard.
Yeah, I know. I spoke to you before the game, and we looked at the lineups. And Pottsy, we saw Partey, because we all stand around the same sort of area before the game. We saw Partey named on the bench. He had just flown in from Ghana after being kicked out of the AFCON, and I think he arrived in the UK at 12 o'clock. What were your thoughts when you saw Partey named on the bench? Forget about what happened and so on, but what were your thoughts?
This club are desperate for a centre midfielder. That's what I thought. There is absolutely no other excuse than somebody to be that desperate to say, I know you've just got your ass off the seats of the aircraft, but now you need to go and put your ass on the seats of the subs bench because we're that desperate. And I am happy when Arsenal play Thomas Partey. I quite like him. Not a lot of other Arsenal fans do think that he's a good footballer, but I actually think he's a very good footballer. I just don't think that we've seen the best of him in an Arsenal shirt, but there's other reasons for that. I think personally, when I look at the team, Fergus, seeing Partey on the bench was not a bad thing. Seeing the team, like Trev said, that we went with, I think we were pretty confident with that team. I'd say it's near on us, full strength side, without. Absolutely hate him, but Granit Xhaka and Thomas Partey are clearly the number one partnership in midfield. So apart from that, everything's looking pretty strong in my opinion from that. And like Trev said, I was confident going into that game, thinking that we could take them on because we'd done the hard bit in Anfield with 10 men. You know, I was thinking when Granit Xhaka got sent off, here we go, this is going to be 4 or 5 now. And it was exceptional defensive performance. It was a great managerial setup. It was tactically spot on after the red card, and that gave me the confidence going into the Emirates to think we can do this. I was one of the fans, however, that did say, let's not start getting too excited on Liverpool's lineup, though, because without Mane, without Salah, they're certainly weaker going forward. But Jota's no mug and neither's Firmino, and they're very, very strong elsewhere. So this wasn't going to be easy for me. It was going to be the midfield battle that was going to be my worry, and unfortunately, I was right.
And Danny, that midfield battle, Liverpool went through us like a hot knife through butter, really, didn't they?
It was really irritating. I feel like I've been mugged off by the club and the players and everything because I was on the same old Arsenal 3 men in the mic with Craig and Chris, and I was saying what the defensive performance we put in against Liverpool in the first leg, the attacking performance we put in against Man City when Pep said we were the best side, we should have won. Only team this season to go to Anfield and keep a clean sheet. How often does Pep come out and go, they were the better team? I thought finally all these things are coming together. And I said, we're going to win this game. I said 2-0. I was so confident. And when we started the game out, I tweeted that Martinelli has had Terence Trent D'Arby on toast. He should just go back to singing. That's how good we were looking. And then Klopp went, on the count of 3, lads.
Name across my heart.
Then on the count of 3, lads, let's do this rope-a-dope and let's rip them apart. And that's what he did. He made us look like everything that we have achieved and everywhere we've come in the last 6-8 months from after the first few games of the season. Everything we have built up, getting better here, better there, doing everything. It all completely fell apart, and it was like everyone hadn't learned a single lesson from everything that Arteta was doing. And I don't know if you can put that down to the players, whether it was players missing, whether it is Arteta. I've got no idea what it is, but yet again, he's got another one of his party master plans. Bringing him back when he wasn't fit against Spurs, knackered, and then bringing him back here. What were you thinking bringing him on? I mean, but
Danny,
was it?
What could he have done? Because Granit Xhaka causes an issue by getting sent off against Liverpool in the first leg. Xhaka would have played, and you wouldn't have had to have Partey on the bench. So, Xhaka
Well,
fulfilled.
he shouldn't have got 2 yellows in the first place. It's
What
ridiculous.
Party?
One of those bookings for Party was probably a yellow, but considering he's already had a yellow, that second one shouldn't have been another yellow. If that had been any other club, I mean, it's like VAR. That someone did a GIF where it was VAR and checking the club badge. I think it was a case of that with Xhaka and with Party and with so many other things that we've seen, which I know we're going to talk about later. But I was like Trev, I was so convinced we were going to win it and convinced we'd beat Chelsea in the final. And I feel Trev, let down and mugged off a bit.
I totally, and to be honest, I think that feeling among the Arsenal faithful, some that were there and some that watched from afar, because everyone was like desperate for tickets once we realised that it could be on, and people who didn't take the season tickets up and decided not to go to the League Cup semi-final second leg, which should have been first leg, wanted to get there. And on Sunday, I think it type of played and gave a bit of the atmosphere. But Trev, it was a different crowd. It was all down to the 12th man. We said it before the game. There was a huge dependency on us as Arsenal fans to get behind the team. And for the first 20 minutes, you saw there that, there was flags out and everything else. Everyone was standing. The noise was really loud. I got texts from Mike Feinberg in America saying that the atmosphere came across on TV is amazing. First goal goes in and the crowd just sat down and ate the popcorn, didn't they?
Well, it was the crowd at Liverpool was a strange sort of crowd. Firstly, I've just got to mention something that Dan said there, because Dan's dead right. Liverpool had their 2 forwards missing, but they still had Jota and Firmino in the side. And personally, I'd give my right arm to see either of them two in the Arsenal team at the moment, with considering what we've got on our scoring record. So yeah, but as for the crowd, I'm going to have a little bit of it. Well, I don't know. I'm going to make a point here, and it'd be interesting to see what you lads say. Against the Liverpool game, there was a lot of people got tickets that don't normally get tickets, right? A lot of youngsters. There was obviously groups of youngsters that had bought tickets all over the stadium. And what they decided to do was they decided to do what it happens a lot, but not in these numbers. They'd all get together. They were, in front of me, there's 3 seats, Ferg, right? And none of the normal lads were in them. And by halfway through the second half, they'd text that many of their mates. I counted 13 lads in those 3 seats, squeezed in. And they squeezed season ticket holders out that were there, and it was just uncomfortable. So, and I know they want to be together, and I know that these youngsters will say I'm an old man moaning. Well, yeah, maybe I am, but I've got a right to stand in my spot, and I don't mind being squeezed a bit. But there's a limit.
Arsenal fans.
That was just stupid.
Yeah, Danny. It was the same. Trev's in block 7, 6, 7, sort of, and I'm in block 5. And in fairness, I had my grandson with me, and there was me and my grandson in my seat. But in the row in front of me, where there's normally 3 seats, there must have been 8, 9 people in there. And in the North Bank, it does feel like Nobby talks about the ground looked like a third empty. That third, mate, they were in the clock end, and they were in the North Bank, and they're all bunched into seats. There's so many from up top coming down. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, exactly, mate. Nobby, the ground, every ticket was sold, mate, and trust me, there were 60,000 people in that ground. It's just that probably about 5,000 or 6,000 of them from the upper tier decided to come and steamroller their way into the lower tier, which makes it a bit busy down there, and it's all right. They're all with their mates, but there wasn't much consideration for any other people there, if I'm honest.
But as you say, Trev, I don't mind, because I like the atmosphere of it all being a bit bunched up and everything else. But it was just a little bit excessive on Thursday night. There's some people that have got season tickets in other parts of the ground that have never been in the seats, and they still come down the North Bank. We know them who join us, and they jump in with us. And there's friends of mine. I'll come along and say, Dan, can we squeeze somebody in between you and your dad? Yeah, it's fine. And that's how we do it, and everyone's okay and comfortable with it. But it did get quite tight and quite uncomfortable. Look, listen, the only thing I want to talk about on this, as we said, we're beaten by a better side. The Party 2 yellows. Danny, you start talking about it. Pottsy, can you give me your view on the Party 2 yellows? Not the fact that he had to play, because he came on with 20 minutes to go. I think that was just to try and see him, give him a bit of play time. I personally wouldn't have played him, but we didn't really have much of an option to change the game up, really.
No, I disagree with what Danny said. I thought both of them were yellows. Excuse me. I thought they were both pretty sloppy, pretty late challenges, and I just don't think the guy was fit enough. He came on and it looked to me as if he was knackered, didn't really want to be there, and just thought, you know what, I fancy a break. I'm already on a yellow. There we go. There's me red. Off I go. And I'm not saying that's what happened, but it really looked like that to me. It just looked really sloppy and really lazy. And it's not what you want to see from your senior heads, Fergus, and I've said this a few times, that there's ill discipline within this squad, but it's not actually from the youngsters as you expect, it's from the senior heads. We've seen Aubameyang, we've seen Gabriel, we've seen Partey, and we've seen Xhaka now all lose their heads with discipline, either getting sent off or by doing stuff off the field. And that's worrying, because they're the people that these youngsters are supposed to be learning / bit of role models from, and we're seeing stuff like that happen. That is very, very worrying in this squad, in my opinion, and it's something that I think needs to change. 14 red cards under Mikel Arteta. What is that all about? I mean, that is unbelievable. I thought that was an exaggeration when someone had said it.
They're not like competitive red cards. They're stupidity.
Oh, awful. And I thought someone was mucking around when they said that to me. I thought they were just exaggerating, and it was like somebody wants Arteta out, so he's just made up a sum. And I looked back and I thought, he's actually right. How the hell has he had him for 2 years, 14 players sent off?
But if you look at those red cards, those 14 red cards, some of them are double yellows. And if you think about how desperately we were defensively, I was talking to somebody today about this, how desperately we were defensively a season and a half ago. And you had David Luiz and Xhaka making last gasp stupid tackles, giving penalties away, and making rash tackles where they didn't need to make tackles. And I think it's just a whole totting up process. We're not a hard or dirty team, and I think that stat is a perfect example of the stats of the almost the anti-Arsenal media that goes on at the minute. And I talked about the negative Arsenal media, and be it on podcasts, be it on Twitter, be it in the publications and online. I do think there is a have a go at Arsenal and make Arsenal look absolutely crap motive at the minute. Trev, did you have anything to add on that before we move on to the Burnley game?
Yeah, because I was going to talk about it in a bit, Fergus, but we've started talking about it now, so we may as well just spend a minute on it and close it out. Because all these red cards Arsenal have been getting, I can take red cards and when they're done, when they're deserved or when it's a big tackle. But, Fergus, leave that alone. So, but throw me right off track now, Fergus. Stop doing that. But I put a post on Twitter this week, right, about Granit Xhaka, and I just said, with his history of red cards, does the risk of him getting a red card outweigh the benefits? And I let it go. I didn't comment on it because it was really interesting. There was, if I'm honest, in the main, people said that Xhaka is no good and we want rid, and he's not good enough. Some people said that he's unlucky to get his cards. Some people said that he's a good player. But when you look, right, at the red card against Liverpool, right, I can actually find a case for Xhaka getting that red card. If he hasn't got his history, if that had been Xhaka's second red card of the season, right, and it's a different player, you're saying, he's had to go for that ball, he's got unlucky, right? Right? But then you think back, right? This is what really, really puts me off the man. You think back to the Leeds game. Think back to, Dan and Fergie, you won't remember it because you were trolleyed, but think back to the league game, right? Xhaka went in hard in a tackle. The ref never booked him. And the petulant man that he is went back 10 seconds later and had another pop when he should have just walked away. And I've lined this up now because I just want to end this with this. We've got to be careful what we say. But seeing Xhaka in that game appearing to be determined to get a card, he got let off of a big tackle that he should have got carded for. Instead of walking away thinking I'm lucky, he's gone back and had another pop, right? Did he want to get yellow carded there? Was there a reason he wanted to get yellow carded there? It seems very strange that after getting away like that, he went back to try and get yellow carded again. The man's either an idiot or something else. And I'm leaving it at that because
Or
I
both.
made my mind up.
I think we've all seen the rumours about Granit Xhaka, so we won't go into that one too much about why he wants to get yellow cards. But I also say, Trev, why is this guy still playing? People will say, well, it's desperation at the moment. But actually, why is he still actually at the football club? That's another question I'd like to ask the manager is, why have you stuck with this man and he plays every game? Because as far as I last remember, he threw the armband on the floor and told us all to F off. So I don't ever want to see him in the team again. And I know people will say, let it go, Dan, let it go. I can't let that go, I'm afraid. Sorry, I don't care if that makes me a bad fan or if that makes me deluded. I cannot let that go, and he should not be playing in the side. So that's my remark to that, Trev. That's my response. To that.
If you go and look at Trev's comment on, which is Hilsey Gunnar, about Xhaka, I actually commented and I copied Xhaka in saying the guy shouldn't have been at the club since October the 29th, 2019. You disrespect our club. He may be a good player and everything else, but you disrespect our club, you're done. I don't wish any ill will to him, to his family, or anything like that. I'm not going to threaten him and troll him like some of the idiots do on social media. I just don't want him playing for our club. Although, at the moment, midfield-wise, we're absolutely crying out desperate for somebody like Granit Xhaka, but better. Let's look at the Burnley game very briefly. The starting lineup had no Tomiyasu, so we had Ben White at right back, we had Rob Holding at centre-back, we had 5 academy players on the bench. Looking at this lineup, let me bring it up for you. Look, the bench was Leno, Tavares, Chambers. Straight away, Tavares is, okay, he's closer to the first team than Chambers is, but then the rest, Eddie Nketiah maybe, the rest, honestly, Charlie Patino, I've heard, I know and seen him play and mispronounced his name several times. But the other 3 lads, honestly, I don't follow the unders that much. I didn't recognise them. And you know, what did we make of that game? When we look at the stats on that game, you know, we had 76% possession versus their 24%. We had 15 shots on target. On off target, 5 on target. They had 1 on target. I actually don't even recall what that one was. But they came with a tactic, and a tactic of being brutal, a tactic of being very defensive, not really coming out of the back line. We had tackles like this from Westwood. We had tackles like this from Westwood. You know, and we will go into those in a little bit more detail. What did we make of it? Danny, what did you make of the game? I lost 2 hours. I was freezing cold, and it was awful.
I was absolutely gutted. If you can't beat a team that have won 1 game all season, on course to be the worst Premier League team of Premier League history, who have just sold their only decent attacking player, and you still can't do anything. And it was the same old, I'm not Arteta out, I'm just frustrated. How can you put on an attacking performance against Man City, one of the best teams in the world, and hold your own against Liverpool, and yet go out and smash Norwich 5-0, who are a better team than Burnley? Burnley obviously didn't come to play, but they were still attacking. There were still chances. How can you do all of that lot and then serve up that plate of cold sick, which is what we got at the weekend? It was constant passing back, constant doing. I mean, I said at one point, might as well have Denilson and El Neni in midfield. They're passing back and passing sideways. The formation was wrong. You don't need to go with 4 at the back in something like this. You could have gone with 3 at the back. You could have gone with 2 at the back. They don't have a striker. They're the only player they've got who scores goals now is at the AFCON. And that's it. That's all they've got. We should have been peppering their goal. I mean, we did. We had 20 shots. I think maybe 5 or 6 were on target. And Lacazette didn't get a single shot on target. And you just look at all of that, and we're all scratching our heads thinking, I don't know whether to be furious, whether to turn this or whether to pull my hair out. It's just... How have we regressed so far back? The last 5 games we scored 1 goal. 5 games before that we scored 19. It doesn't matter the opposition. How does this happen? How is Arteta letting this happen? Injuries and all this stuff. Plus, he only brings on Nketiah. Tavares could have come on and done something down the left-hand side. Martinelli was running on. I don't even know how Martinelli still. In the last minute, Martinelli was tracking back and defending in the last minute. How can we have all these young players suddenly all go, no, nothing's happening. I don't know what to do. And I can't remember the last time I was that angry And that, oh my God, I don't even want to watch this. I want to turn it off. Going before the Liverpool game, I was thinking I want to play. I see us play every day. I'm so happy. I just want to see more and more. And then I was like, no, I don't want to watch this because it's just infuriating. It's like having a small child where you're trying to explain to it something and it just doesn't get it. And you keep messing up. It's just, you can tell I'm not even sure what to say about it. I'm just so angry with it. There's no need for us to be this shit.
Danny, try standing there in the freezing fucking cold for 2 hours.
This is another reason why I'm glad I don't go anymore, to watch that shit and whilst freezing your tits off. Sorry, I've sworn too many. I've been swearing.
Trev, you couldn't make it because of the good old British Rail or the rail infrastructure having engineering work. So you had to sit at home and watch it on the TV. Was it as bad as it was for us there?
I think I might make Danny even angrier now. So I thought like the glaring problem with the game was what we all know is a glaring problem. We had no central midfielder that was going to create, and we've got no striker. You see, we rely on really to score our goals. We rely on our 10 to 15 goal a season players, Xhaka and Smith Rowe, right? They're not prolific goal scorers. They're not in the side to be prolific goal scorers. Now, when neither of them turns it on and gets in the goal scoring positions, has a bad game, there's nothing else. Lacazette runs his socks off, but he can't score a goal for fun. His finishing has gone to pot, you know. And then if Lacazette ain't scoring goals, you bring on who you think's going to be your striker. So you bring Nketiah on, and we're all on the floor because to me, Nketiah don't even look like he's trying. He's a young 20, 21-year-old kid. He should come on with 20 or 30 minutes to go and fly around that field, ripping the turf up, flying around that field. But he ambles around and shrugs his shoulders like he don't care. And I'm sure he does care, but he doesn't look like he does. You know, so the problem for me is I can't believe he brought Eddie on. He's got all them youngsters on the bench, right? Bring one or two of them youngsters on. They ain't going to be
bloke is fantastic. He's only 18. He scores 7 goals in 15 for the under-23s. The bloke is a monster.
Yeah, but they ain't going to be any worse than what he keeps bringing on. He sticks with Nketiah. You know, he's sticking with Lacazette. I can get Lacazette, but what's going on with Eddie, I don't know. But that was the problem. I thought that defensively and coming out of defence, I wasn't upset. We just had no creation in the middle and we had nothing up front to aim at.
Pottsy, we're on the same chat group and I saw the comment by Trev after the game about why did you bring on Eddie? Why didn't you bring on one of the younger kids? And I thought, first of all, well, that's a bit of a, not a stupid comment, but that's a bit of a far left comment there from Trev. But then he quantified it by saying that Eddie come on and he showed no desire, no commitment, and just ran around he came on, at 75 minutes, I think it was. And for that 15 minutes, he ran around like he'd been running for 90 minutes flat out. Where if you put one of those young kids on, they would have ran their guts out because it's their first and only chance to play for the Arsenal. And would you have tried that young lad? What was his name? Begins with a B. Beerith.
I saw the team, and if this was in April or if this was in March, we'd be going, Christ, I wish it was the January transfer window. Look at the state of this squad. And it is January, and it is the transfer window, but we would not know it because we've done nothing. These two have sat there and allowed this team to be depleted and essentially knocked us out of both cup competitions. We're very lucky that we didn't do the North London derby because it would have been an embarrassment. I looked at that, Fergus, and thought, what can he do? Options are very far and few between. There's not much that I could look at there and say, what can he do to change that? I would like to do something, would have been the answer. Nothing was the wrong thing to do. And people will say, we brought on Eddie. What's he bringing on Eddie for? Does he think Eddie's going to win him the game? He hasn't been able to do it all season. People say that he hasn't been fair to some players. He's definitely been fair to Eddie Nketiah. It's the only player I've seen. I reckon he's the most used player, actually, in Arteta's reign. Definitely the most subs been used is Eddie Nketiah. And when he threw him on, I thought, OK, that's obvious. We knew he was going to come on. He loves Eddie. Eddie's his favourite player in history. So we know he's coming on. So when he comes on, he doesn't want to play a 4-4-2, which I thought he should have done. He could have played Lacazette up top with him. Eddie was on the left for some reason. Now, it didn't look to me like Martinelli was out of his way. It looked like he was just running around, showing a lot of intensity, which is what Eddie does, but just getting in the way of people and not really doing much else. So that didn't work. So I thought, okay, so that's not work. What is he going to do here? He's still got some time. It's 0-0. They're definitely not a threat, Burnley, at all. So what can we do? What else can Arteta do? He's got Tavares from the bench if he fancies a change of a substitution again. Or he's got Callum Chambers who can come in at right back and allow Ben White to be pushed into midfield to get somebody on the ball. He's quite comfortable on the ball like Ben White is. Didn't see either of those options either. Okay. He's not going to do that. I was speaking to my dad while I'm doing this. I said, well, what else can he do, Dad? And my dad's like, I just don't think he's got much options from the bench. Well, he's got to do something because we're going to draw 0-0 and everyone will be wanting him out again. So what's he going to do?
Well, you will.
Well, I'll tell you what he could... Oh, well, no. Listen, I already want him out. It's not me wanting him out again. I already want him out. There's just so many fan base that flip-flop and they want him in and out, They do the okey-cokey, don't they? So, for me, I look at that situation and think, you've got Birif, you've got Amari Hutchinson, and there was another guy on the bench who apparently has been doing quite well. Danny will tell me. Alawusi, is it? Somebody like that on the bench. Like that, And all three of them are apparently quite sort of highly rated. So this is an opportunity for one of them to make a start. And this is exactly what Eddie Nketiah did. He made himself famous by coming on against Norwich in the League Cup, scoring 2 goals and getting us through to the next round. So I expected to see something from Mikel Arteta and I saw absolutely nothing. And that to me just proves why this process is not to be trusted. And it's just more evidence that I can start to look at and say the owner has potentially given loads of money into this club, which I still don't think is his money. I think that he's allowed money to be spent, but I don't think it's come out of his pocket. I think that he's allowed money to be spent. But we have just got a lot of inexperience within Arsenal Football Club right now, and that showed on Sunday from the bench to the manager to Edu as a director of football and to the Vinay Venkateshams and Stan Kroenkes and Josh Kroenkes at this club. And I think once you get all of them in one room, inexperience is the perfect storm for disaster, and we're certainly looking closer to 7th than 4th the way that we're playing.
It depends on whether you have a half full or half empty glass, and we'll get into that sort of debate shortly, because if we win our game in hand against Wolves and we beat Tottenham in the North London derby, where results gone the right way, we're 4 points clear in 4th rather than the 7th that you talk about. Before we finish up on that game, I to be honest, I thought that Arteta was on a hiding to nothing with that game. With having the 11 players that we had starting and only having maybe Eddie on the bench, I did look at the options that you and your dad talked about bringing Tavares on, moving Ben White, and moving people around on the pitch that they could do. And I probably would have gone for that route rather than bringing Eddie on immediately. Because that could also have allowed you to push Odegaard up the pitch as well, because Odegaard in that deeper role is not as effective as he is further up. I would like to add as well, Odegaard, I've been watching him more and more over the last few games, and that guy is growing and growing and growing as a player. Trev, could you see Odegaard being a future captain of Arsenal Football Club?
I think we've got a few players that can be future captains of Arsenal Football Club. We need one on the field now. We've got Laka, and Laka does. I don't like people to think I'm getting on Laka's back all the time because it sounds like that. I actually like Laka as a person, but he's not. He doesn't. He's a striker, and he doesn't score goals, and goals win football games. He's our captain at the moment. I'd like to see that change. I'd like to see one of these younger lads given the responsibility, whoever it is. We've got 3 or 4 that could do it. Give them the responsibility of captaincy and see what it does to them. It may well make them a better player. And what we need at the moment is younger players getting better. The younger players we had on the bench against Burnley, to me, it's obvious that Arteta doesn't trust them yet. Otherwise, he'd have brought them on. Maybe that we had no numbers, so they had to be named on the bench. And that just brings us back to what Dan said, and Dan rightly said about us being so short of numbers. I can't believe we've let 1 or 2 players go on loan or whatever because we just haven't got any central midfielders. I'd love for us to. I don't think Maitland-Niles will ever be good enough to be a regular player at Arsenal. But
how many games would Maitland-Niles have got in the last month? He'd have started every game in right back or central midfield, and he'd have done a great job.
Yeah, but we might differ on that, Dan, because whether he did a great job or not, sometimes he did, sometimes he didn't. For me, he wasn't quite good enough for the Arsenal. But nevertheless, we need a player like him at the club right now. And then, see, Dan's got me on this chain of thought. Have we let all these players go because our owner is saying we need to cut the wage bill? You want to bring a player or two in, you've got to get rid of them, and you've got to get rid of them now because I'm not spending any more money. We don't know. We speculate, right? We speculate. We haven't got a clue, right? But we speculate. But I am shocked that we've had such a clear out and our numbers are so low. I mean, even with all our players fit, we've only really got 3 central midfielders, haven't we? We've got Xhaka, who's a time bomb. We've got Partey, in fairness, has been improving recently and looking a bit of a class player. And then we've got Lokonga, who's only learning the game. That is our 3 available first-team central midfield players, isn't it? The ones you would want to see play.
I think if you look at our squad, we probably, where we meant to have a squad of 25, I think if you look at genuine first-team contender players, and even with the younger ones, and if you factor in Nketiah into that as well, and El Neni, and Pepe, you're probably looking at 15, 16 players is what we've got. We don't have. We're a good 10 players short. And like Dan and myself have different views on many things, but Pottsy, Dan, I mean by this, but I have to agree that where you've been calling out Arteta and Edu over this transfer window has been spot on. At first, I thought you were a bit premature, but here we are with 7 days to go, and we're 6, 7 players gone, and we haven't backfilled those players. We haven't got good enough players coming through the youth to backfill either. It's just ridiculous.
Can I just bring something up quick, Ferg? Because it's on touch. There's 2 things. One thing Trev said, which was reminding me, which I think is something that no one's mentioned, which I really do feel sorry for a player at the moment. Sambi Lokonga. I feel so sorry for this young lad. He's 21 years old. His first season at Arsenal. In my opinion, played really well at the start of the season when he was thrown in, when we didn't have the likes of players really. Really like the lad. I really like his forward passing. He anchors the midfield quite well, and he's definitely learning and has got a hell of a lot to learn. I look at him at the moment and think, how cruel that he has not been able to be guided. Everybody that he plays next to is getting sent off, or everybody that he's playing next to is a young kid younger than him. And people keep saying, he's not having a very good game. He's not having a very good game. Well, I saw him at Anfield and I thought he was shambolic in the first 10, 15 minutes. And my God, did he pick it up. And I think he deserved a lot of credit for it. Never got credit for it. In the game at Emirates, he played an unbelievable pass to Lacazette, who ballooned it over the bar and nearly hit me and Rosette. Unbelievable pass. No one said anything of it. I think the lad deserves a lot more credit than he's getting. And I honestly don't look at players like that and start pointing the finger, because he's 21 years old, he's highly rated, he's got more potential in my opinion than a lot of the players in that position that have come through. I was nowhere near as bad of a player in Guendouzi as a lot of people liked, but you know, he's another one like that who's come in that we should be bigging up and giving a lot of hope for. And I've just felt sorry for the lad. He's played alongside Charlie Patino and tried to guide him through a game at Nottingham Forest, which is a shambolic decision to put him on as a full debut. I just feel sorry for him massively, and I don't think it's been touched on a lot at all. And the other thing about this transfer window that I can't get into my head is I have actually got nothing against the players that have left this window in terms of the players that have been loaned out or sold. I've got nothing against that whatsoever, because all of them are dead wood, yeah? Even Maitland-Niles and Pablo Mari, we don't want them here long term. But you cannot sell players when you have nobody in place. We have got players at the moment, and I'm going to name them quickly, that would have done a job against Nottingham Forest or Liverpool over 2 legs. Guendouzi, Torreira, Maitland-Niles, William Saliba, even Hector Bellerin when we haven't had a bloody right back. Pablo Mari,
I'll stop you on there.
There's 7 players there that are out on loan. I know what you're going to say, Ferg, but just let me finish the point. There's 7 players out there that have not been replaced. Whether you think they're good enough or you think they're dreadful, I think half of them are dreadful and need to go. But they would have done a job. Now, it's fine getting rid of 7 players on loan. If you do not bring 7 players in, unfortunately, as much as we all hate it, they have to stay and do their job because we need them. Balls to Jose Mourinho, who needs a player in Maitland-Niles, who apparently got man of the match playing at right back at the weekend. We need him here. I'm sorry, Ainsley, if the deal was for you to go, you can go, mate. But it's going to be the end of the window once Forest and Liverpool's over, and then you can do what you want at Roma. I don't care. It is shambolic. It's incompetence what's happened this month. There's no defending it. I don't care whether you're Arteta in, Arteta out, Kroenke in, Kroenke out. This is indefendable, mate. It's incompetence of the highest order.
No. Listen, and I do get that point. The only thing I'd say of those 7 players you named, Torreira doesn't want to be in the UK, and Saliba has never played in the Premier League. So those 2, I'd say the 5. I don't rate Guendouzi, but I'd say the 5. I'd give you something to say. Danny, what do you make of what Pottsy has said there? Where does that blame lie? Does it blame lie at Arteta's feet, or does it lie further up the food chain? For me, I think it's further up the food chain. Edu, Kroenkes.
Well, if I could, I'd stand up and applaud Dan for that. To start that out a little bit, the transfer window opened on the 1st of June, 2021. Since that day, the beginning of this current season, 17 players have left the club permanently. 22 players have been loaned out, and we brought in 6 first-team players and 1 youth player. And so, and now, how can you let players go when, like Balogun could play. Balogun's a decent player. He could have done a job, like Dan was saying, add him to the list. And Maitland-Niles could have filled in all those positions. And when you look at it, we give Edu grief because Edu doesn't seem to be doing his job. He's having 6 holidays every summer. But the summer transfer that we just had is one of the best in so many years that I can remember. Absolutely almost a 10 out of 10 transfer window. But then we looked at Real Madrid wanted 60 million for Ødegaard. We waited. We got him for 35. Maybe that's what Edu's doing now. But at the moment, you cannot let players go and leave massive big holes in the first team, having to call up 5 players from the under 23s. Most of them were 17, 18, 19-year-olds. One of them has played for the first team. The other 4 have not a single second of first team football at Arsenal or anywhere else. And you've got all of those on the bench. Our players are knackered. They've played a load of games in a busy period, and then you make 1 substitution when you could have made 3. And that just shows that Arteta is maybe making, like players do, managers do. They make statements like bringing Kolasinac on in the 94th minute or something like that, making a statement going, well, this is all I've got. This is what I need more stuff. Now, we all know that Kroenke only gives a damn about his LA Rams. He's recently got a $900 million fine from the NFL he's had to pay all the relocation costs, and I'm not an NFL, I don't know it all. I just read a little bit about it. Yeah. That $900 million. Do you know about it, Fergus?
The Rams were at St. Louis, and then he moved them to LA because they got a new stadium, a £5 billion stadium. Trevor, net 32 players out since that transfer window stat that Danny was talking about.
39.
No, 39 out, 6 and 1 in. Net 32. Net 32. I have never heard that stat before. How does that make you feel and think when you hear that stat?
I'm getting really worried here because I actually agree with Danny and Pottsy for once.
Cool, blimey. Stop press. Got to clip this bit.
Listen, they're exactly right. You know what I mean? None of it, to use some of the words that Dan used, that Pottsy used, all them players that have gone out, I'm not upset about any of them going. Not in the slightest. I don't think any of them really going to be good enough to play for the Arsenal. But if they're all you've got, if you've got nothing to bring in, then you don't let them go. You could, because you have to use them, you know. So it is difficult to figure out what's going on. A football man like Arteta, I can't believe that is Arteta's decision to let them go. But then we start getting into a whole new kettle of fish that maybe would be a whole podcast on its own. And, you know, people are saying, you know, like Danny's mentioned Balogun could have done a job. Well, do you know what, Dan? To be honest with you, mate, from what I've seen of Balogun this season, he couldn't, mate. We shouldn't have let him go. We shouldn't have let him go. We should have kept him because he's all we've got. But he couldn't do much of a job, you know. And then people have been saying, right, why haven't we brought Aubameyang back into the fold? He's been back from the African Cup of Nations. He would have probably scored. Well, no, he probably wouldn't because he hasn't been scoring for about 2 seasons, you know. Aubameyang ain't going to make the difference. I wish he could. I hope I'm wrong, and he does, but he ain't, you know. So, yeah, it's such a difficult one to get your head around as an Arsenal fan. Why have we let all these players go and brought nothing in, you know? And, you know, you're talking about these players that Arsenal are trying to sign were being turned down by this lad, and there's a couple of other names mentioned. Just remember, all those rumours, all that talk won't have come from the football club, because Arsenal play their cards very close to their chest when it comes to transfers. They tell us nothing. That'll all be speculation, and a lot of the speculation is often right, but that speculation won't have come from official Arsenal Football Club sources.
Do we think it's going to be the point where we're getting nobody in? Because we've got, 6 days to go.
No, we
what are
will.
we going to
Dan,
do?
we
Another
will.
trolley dash?
No, Danny, we will sign a midfielder and a centre forward 100%, but it's too late. The damage is done. There's no rush now. We might as well wait till the end, because there's only 6 days left. We've got no game until the window shuts. There's no point getting them in today or tomorrow. We might as well take our time now. The damage is done. We're out the cups now. That's on them two. I'm sorry, it is.
I think we'll also bring in a keeper as well, because we've loaned out Hines as well.
Yes.
And Leno.
Yeah. Matt Turner, isn't it? Matt Turner's coming in.
Going to Newcastle. Just before you come in on Trev, Matt Roberts is in the chat talking about Torreira. I'll put up his comments, but I somebody can correct me. I think factually he's incorrect in the sense that he says he disagrees with me about Torreira, that Arteta kicked him out for no reason, and so on. He goes into a little bit more on the chat. I thought Torreira left under Emery's tutelage.
That's where it started, when he started playing him as a 10, didn't he? He was playing him high up midfield to break up play, and I think that's where the damage was done with Torreira under Emery.
Okay, so it's not necessarily Arteta's fault, and I'm not trying to defend Arteta, but I knew that he wasn't happy by the time Arteta inherited him.
Lucas Torreira doesn't want to be in London. He wants to be over in Italy, and I think that's why he's over there. I think what my point was that if it's fine getting him out, but you need a replacement. Not that I'd bring any of those players back. But
I agree. And look, Lacazette as well. We need to replace. We saw him on at the weekend. He was playing so deep, and he's just got no pace or anything like that. He's so heavy legged and everything else. And you mentioned earlier on about Martinelli, and I was going to come in then, but Martinelli's running right up to the byline, looking for somebody to cross into. Somebody should be on the penalty spot, and Lacazette is halfway between the centre spot and the penalty spot. Going, he looked like me trying to walk up the bloody stairs. Honestly, it's unreal.
When you look at the fact that what Xhaka can do down that right-hand side, he bombs down there, cuts in, and nearly every single time gets past his man. That is a dream thing to have for a manager. And then every time he gets it, turns players inside out, puts the ball there, and Lacazette's going, 1 minute, anyone got my inhaler? I love Lacazette, but he cannot do the 10, the striker, the 10, and then go and get the ball like Sanchez used to do. He can do one job. He can't do 3 jobs, and it's killing him as a footballer. He's had 1 goal in the last 8 games, and that was a penalty.
Trevor,
striker.
Trevor, one of the other topics that you suggest that we talk about on this podcast was refereeing, and we can tie it in a little bit with the Burnley game, to use an example. I did put up a couple of pictures of Westwood where he's elbowing Gabriel and nothing got done. He's made a tackle that I've seen, a similar tackle on the AFCON tonight, and it was a red card that studs up and he's gone straight into his leg. If you want to see that tackle in real life as it goes, and hopefully they don't cut us off, but I'm going to play this and see that we don't have to re-edit it out. Let's see what happens. This is the tackle that Westwood does on Kieran Tierney. That is absolutely horrendous. And the referee did what, Trevor?
Well, nothing. You see, you've got onto that, right, Ferg, and that was awful, and that deserves greater punishment. But I come to expect decisions like that now, and we all go on about it happens to the Arsenal because we're Arsenal fans, and we don't like to see it, and it does happen to us a lot. But I didn't think the refereeing in this country could get any worse. I'd seen that many abysmal decisions this season from the referees and from VAR and from the assistant VAR referee. I didn't think it could get any worse. And then I saw that penalty that Liverpool got against Palace at the weekend. And I thought to myself, the referee on the pitch hasn't given that. So those 2 clowns in that VAR box have got to have seen something that they really think overrules the referee's decision, and they called the referee over. I still can't get my head around the fact that can be incompetency. I can't believe there can be incompetency of that level within our game. And we've spoken on previous podcasts, all four of us, about what the possibilities are for VAR and what it can do and what it might do. And that's starting to play more and more in my mind. Have you guys watched that penalty decision back? Liverpool against Palace. It's the worst decision. I've seen some awful decisions given against the Arsenal, but I've never seen a decision that bad ever. I can't think why on earth two FIFA qualified referees sitting in a box would think for a moment that's a penalty, and it stinks.
We said with VAR, it does give the opportunity for conspiracy. We wouldn't say anything more than that because that could be leave us liable. But it could conspire to change the game. Pottsy, what's your thoughts on the refereeing standards? You look at David Coote, and he was afraid to look at anybody but the fourth official, as Pope took 27 seconds to kick the ball out at one point yesterday, and he started delaying in the first half. Listen, Ramsdale done the same thing when we were winning 1-0 up at Burnley. I'm not saying our keepers don't, and time wasting is part of a tactic of the game, but there is a certain point in time where a referee has to come along and say, come on, guys, let's play fair. The guy behind me was going, here we go, he'll get a yellow card in the 88th minute. People know that the referees aren't going to do anything about it, and they're just going to do a token to keep us happy because we've been going boo, 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 and calling the referee a coot.
I think the funniest part about that, I did like that. I think the funniest part about what you've said there, Ferg, and the serious part of it is that we've all come to expect it, that in the 17th minute, Pope was taking forever to kick the ball out and time wasting, and he continued to do it throughout the game. Burnley came and they were physical and they were very defensive and they were low block and they didn't let us through. Everything for me was really expected. The tackles are going to be flying in, they're a physical side, they are going to foul us because they're going to be too slow for us and we're going to be too quick for them. Everybody expected this apart from one man wearing all black because he wasn't expecting it. Or was he green? Sorry, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So for me, it looked as if it was just so unexpected for him. It was like, no, nothing wrong with as far as I can see. I've told him that he shouldn't go in that hard, and I've told him that he needs to kick the ball out quicker. Well, he's not going to listen, ref, is he? As for VAR, I'd told you all it stands for very awful refereeing, and I stand by it. I mean, there is nothing more to say about that than VAR stands for very awful refereeing, because it ain't the system and the technology, is it? It's goal line technology works. The lines that you put up seem to work. The system seems to replay it quite well. So it isn't the technology, is it? It's certainly the people making the decisions on it. So I've never been a fan of it. I didn't want it in the first place. I loved goal line technology because it was quite black or white. It's either gone over the line or it ain't gone over the line. And it shows you. You can't do black or white with these decisions with technology. So there's always going to be problems with it. There's always going to be grey areas, and there's always going to be inconsistencies. And that's exactly what we've seen. I'd like to see what would be happening if those tackles were Arsenal players. I'd like to have seen Gabriel or Lokonga putting those sort of tackles in. Would we have got a yellow? Would we have got a red? That would have told you all need to know about the corruption of Arsenal Football Club and the refereeing and officiating. Now, I will say this. We're Arsenal fans, we're biased.
If Xhaka had done that, he'd be off.
Off, straight away. Off, red card. He wouldn't be able to wait to get it out. 100%.
Yeah.
Now, Granit Xhaka is a bad example because Granit Xhaka deserves that. He's earned his right to be sent off because he's an idiot. But some of the other players that we would have been doing it, like a Gabriel maybe or a Kieran Tierney, then not so much. But they would have been off. Couldn't have waited to get a red card out, this referee, I'm sure. So it is interesting to see the inconsistencies within Arsenal. All I will say is this: I don't see this in other leagues. And they've got the same technology and they've got the same footballs, they've got the same football pitches, they've got different players, but 11 are on either side. I don't see it in the Champions League, I don't see it in the Europa League, I don't see it in the World Cup or the Euros, but I do see it in the Premier League, and that's poor officiating. It's inconsistencies in every single weekend of football, and you'll always compare two games. Never one incident, you'll always look at that incident and go, that was the exact same incident in the Palace game, nothing happened. And then from that Palace game, I saw an offside that was given that should never have been given offside because the one in the Everton game wasn't. We shouldn't be talking about this every weekend, but we are. The officiating is nothing short of shambolic, mate.
Yeah, true. The officials got no leadership. They answer to no one. and they've got the biggest corrupt referee in charge of them all, in Riley, who we all know about Riley at Old Trafford. You know, we all know what he did. And while they answer to no one, they won't improve. They won't improve. And for me, we get rid of VAR. For me, I know it will never happen, but if a referee's on a field and he makes a decision and it's a wrong decision, I'll call him all the names under the sun. But if he's on his own in the heat of the moment and he makes a mistake, I can make a case for human error. But when I've got a referee and 2 referees in the VAR room and 2 assistant referees, so that's 5 of them, and they're giving penalties like that one Liverpool got against Palace. And I'm not picking on Liverpool. Don't get me wrong. I'm not picking on Liverpool. When they're giving penalties,
you could use the Man United Villa one as well. You could use the Man United Villa one. 4 minutes to come. Yeah, so
absolutely. I've never just get rid of it, because if it is corrupt, I'm not saying it is, but if it is corrupt, getting rid of VAR stops that, and it also stops us fans getting on their backs all the time. Because if a ref's on the field on his own and he makes a bad decision, I'll call him out. But in the back of my head, I'll be thinking he's on his own on the pitch. Human error. It happens. But not with all these people. There's more to it.
Danny, your thoughts on VAR? Does it give you an opportunity to compromise the game?
It's there's so many betting companies involved in funding football. And the referee, the PGMOL, are answerable to nobody. You're not allowed to go and see the referee until 15, 20 minutes after the game. You look how quickly the Aston Villa Man United goal was. Checking VAR. Yep, that's a goal. You're looking back at it going, there's no way that was onside. That's impossible. And then you see the Liverpool one with Crystal Palace where Jota just goes, oh look, I've lost the ball. Right, go and lean into the goalkeeper, get a penalty. He should have got booked for that. And he didn't get booked for it. And we just see it over and over again. And I didn't want VAR in the first place. Football is a game of moments. Football is not NFL. It is not a thing where you can have constant breaks from it. And it's just, I don't want to see it. It's ruining the game, and it will kill the game. But then I've seen people, I've read articles of people saying the amount of involvement that Sky TV, who have their own betting people, the Sky Sports betting, and then the amount of other betting companies, they're far too involved in the sponsorship and the running, and everyone's got their finger in the pies. And then even now you've got ex-referees. I think it was Keith Hackett has an article, and he said in his article something along the lines of, yet again I find myself criticising referees who have blatantly got it wrong and nothing has been done about it. And this is happening over and over again. And the only teams that seem to be getting it, they're getting away with it: Liverpool, Man United, Man City, and occasionally Chelsea. No one else is getting the rub of the green.
The thing is, Danny, it was brought in to be less controversial. It's made it so much more controversial.
It's killing the game.
It really has. It really has. The last couple of seasons, it's been awful.
We can't even celebrate. Only this new one. I'm doing my best not to swear, Fergus. That new offside thing, where they don't even tell you it's offside until 30 seconds later when the break.
Yeah.
Who thought that was a good idea?
Horrendous.
Football is your team scores, you celebrate. Now, if your team scores, you think, I don't want to look at all. I'm not going to celebrate. 30 seconds later, there you go. It's a goal. All right. Thank you. The party's over and done with. The party poppers have gone.
Andy Fink puts up here, 1989, Mickey Thomas, VAR would have diluted the delirium that it was. And you could imagine it going to VAR for offside and everything else.
It would have been cancelled.
Yeah. Listen, right, just to sum this up, Fergus, Danny's made some lovely points there.
Thank you.
But for me at the moment, football matches, some football matches are not being decided by the quality of the players on the field. They're being won or lost by the lack of quality of the referee on the field. Right? So football isn't winning all football matches. The lack of quality of referees is winning football matches. And Danny used the word, and he's bang on. That in some cases, and eventually will make football unwatchable, because we pay our money, and we pay a lot of money to watch footballers play football, win football matches. At the current time, there are matches, referees influence it that much. They actually win the games, and they win the games for the wrong teams.
And nothing gets done.
No.
for the people who are watching us live, I hope you really enjoyed the show, because I think with all the comments of various TV companies and betting companies, this probably get pulled down a bit later on. Listen, before I do the final bit, I wanted to talk about at the end of the game against Burnley. There was some booing from a very small section, but still a reasonably noisy section of the fan base on Sunday. Trevor again mentioned that he'd like to discuss this as well. So, like, some fans booed after the Burnley game. Should you ever boo your team, or should you ever boo a team member? We can tie in Xhaka, October 29th, 2019. You know, when the Emirates, everybody apparently in the Emirates was booing him. Everybody, Dan, me, you, we were there. We're booing Xhaka because we're nasty people. I wasn't booing him. I was screaming at him to get off the bloody pitch. But Trev, should you ever boo your team or your players?
No, not for me. You shouldn't, Fergus. I mean, I've spent a lot of this podcast tonight calling out, Eddie Nketiah and calling out Laka, but even Xhaka. But they're still players and they play for my football team, and so I don't boo them. I may talk about them on here and with me mates and say, look, they're not. I don't rate them, or they've not done this or not done that. But in that 90 minutes on that football field, you won't find me booing them. I didn't boo Xhaka that night. I shouted a bit of abuse at him to get off the field, and I didn't use those words, obviously. But, and I suppose that's as good as booing in a way.
Would you mind leaving the field, please?
I've never booed. Yeah, that was what I was aiming to say, Danny, but I used different words, mate. But no, I won't boo my players, because even though they're not very good, some of them, they're playing for Arsenal. I support the Arsenal. A lot of people don't have that view, and I can see why they don't. But you asked me, and that's my view.
Danny?
Yeah.
Oh, what were we talking about? A booing player? No, I'm just looking for something that Gav tweeted earlier about Arteta later. I've never booed a team. In my entire life, I've only left one game early. Barnet have been smashed 5-1 by York. I don't boo my own players. I shout at them, make all them say, what the effing hell did you do there? What are you doing? Sort your life out. I once screamed at Dennis Bergkamp to sort his life out. He signed a new contract and went on to be a legend. But I would never boo my own players. If you want to boo them, it's up to you. But I just wouldn't do it. Wouldn't feel right.
Pottsy, booing players, and then I want to go on to one other topic, and I know you a couple of bits you want to talk about as well.
Just quickly, a lot of people know that I'm not very happy at the moment with what's going on at Arsenal. I will never boo players. I know people around me do it. I haven't got anything against them doing it, because I believe it's their right as to support the club how they want to support the club. It's not something I agree with. I would never do it. But I suppose if you were at a meal and it came out rotten, you'd probably want to boo the chef. So I suppose if you pay a lot of money to watch a football game, you're probably going to boo the players if you're not happy with them. So everyone's entitled to their opinion, to show and express their feeling, if that is how they believe they want to support their football club. But it's not something that I would believe or get behind. It's certainly not something that me or my dad have ever done in over 25 years of going to watch the Arsenal. So it's not something I condone. But it's up to different fans.
The final topic I want to talk about, and we're going to keep this reasonably brief because this could go on for bloody hours, and we have half covered it already, is the Arteta situation. So myself and I know Trevor we're very much more giving Arteta a lot more time, and supporting the team and the regime. In the regime, I mean personally, Arteta, in the rebuilding and the process he's going through right through. We said until this transfer window, but COVID type of put it off, and I could see some progress being made from the last transfer window to this one. So, for me personally, I'm behind him until the end of May, although I am very worried. I'd like to understand your view on what he's achieved, your thoughts on his longevity, his management and his culture, what he's done about the culture of the club. And Trev, can I come to you first? Because then we've got one side of the fence, and I know Pottsy, clearly we know your view, and I know Danny, you're probably more on the Pottsy side than mine and Trevor's side, I think. I don't know, I've assumed there.
Do you want me to answer that? I'll keep
No.
We've got to go through this again. I mean, I can't bother to go through all the getting rid of all the players again. Not talking about it again.
No. But not the players thing. But Trev first.
Right. Firstly, I use the word a lot on this podcast, but I've got to use it again now. What we're going to say is all speculation about what Arteta's done and what he hasn't done behind the scenes. We can see what's happening on the field. But from positives for me, he's definitely cleared out of Deadwood, and we definitely look a better football inside when we play well. Yeah, he talks well. He appears to get on well with everybody, so that's positives. What I can't work out at the moment is that some of his substitutions in particular baffle me a little bit. If you can have them youngsters on the bench, use them. I think he's probably getting pressure from other places, once again speculating, because he's cleared all these players out, as we've mentioned, and not brought anybody in. And this is, just to finish it off, with Arteta, this is where it starts making me think back to Wenger, you know. Because afterwards we heard about Wenger, and Wenger was saying that he didn't say nothing at the time, but he had his arms tied. You know, he had to do this, he had to do that. But if that's happening with Mikel now, Mikel needs to tell us. Mikel needs to look after himself and tell us exactly if he's getting any pressure from outside quarters that stop him doing his job. Because at the moment I'm a bit baffled. He still has me faith. I hope we're not going to have a transfer window like we used to have towards the end of Wenger's reign, where 10 seconds before the end of the transfer window, we bought in a couple of bang average players that were never going to be stars and wasted money. I hope that's not the case. So he's still got my support. I am a bit baffled. He's still got lots to do. If he gets the support, I'm sure he'll do it. I'm not sure he's getting the support behind the scenes from the upper echelons of the club. That's where my worries lie most at the moment, in hindrance to Arteta.
Danny, do you want to give your tuppence on this situation?
Oh dear. I don't want to be too quick to criticise, because before last summer's transfer window, we were all down on Arteta and Edu, and they did wonders. I don't want to go pointing fingers and saying this isn't good enough, that isn't good enough, you're a shambles. But Arteta is doing himself no favours. I mean, he's won 60 and not won 54 of his games. The number of times we played defensive football and all these other things that are going on with that, you've got to wonder why isn't, if he has a vision, then it's taking his time to get there. How can he allow people to leave and not replace them, and then put his own job in jeopardy because he hasn't replaced them? And the whole Mourinho thing with Xhaka and Roma last summer, I mean, that was an absolute farce for the sake of, what was it, an extra 5 million? The bloke should have been gone. I mean, I like Xhaka, I like the way he gets stuck in, but his heart isn't with the. He knows his future isn't at Arsenal, and when you have a whole group of players who know their future isn't with the club, like ironically, at the moment they've all gone off to Dubai, and the one player who isn't going to Dubai is the one who keeps buggering off to Dubai. He's been told, Aubameyang's been told to stay at Arsenal. There you go. That sums up Arsenal at the moment, and I just wait. I have to wait. We're never going to find out. They're never going to let us know, and there's nothing we can do about it apart from sit here and put up with it.
Dan, so the topics to cover in your couple of sentences, and then we'll go into the other last little bits, are what he's achieved, your thoughts on his longevity, his management style, say, and how he deals with the culture.
So Danny ended on something which I absolutely 100% agree with. Doesn't really matter what my opinions are or how much I rant and rave about not being able to trust the process of an owner that I really do not trust. Because the owners trust the board trusts the manager, and the fans love the manager. So this manager will come 12th this year and he'll still be here. So there's no point of us raving and ranting saying he's going to get sacked, because he isn't. I personally feel we're going to have a shocker again. I think we're going to come 7th or 8th, depending if we beat Wolves. If we lose to Wolves, I think we'll look towards 8th. If we can beat Wolves, I think that we might get 7th. But we shouldn't be anywhere near that with this side. We've spent £250 million. We've got one game a week. We're out of Europe. And if we're coming out of Europe, we've got to go for that Champions League. And the Champions League door is widely open. Tottenham have a chance because they've got Conte. Manchester United are all over the place. In my opinion, West Ham are there by team spirit and team spirit only, because they've got a quality side, but the team spirit is lifting them with a chance of sneaking into that top four, but I don't think they'll make it. So if Manchester United and Spurs finish above us, that's poor for me this season. When I look at what they've got and I look at the situation of our team, if Spurs get it, it's because they've got a better manager than us, because they ain't got a better team than us. If Manchester United get it, it's because they've got a better manager than us, because I don't think they've got a better first 11 than us. I think they've got 5 players, Manchester United, that I'd look at and go, oh, they look quite tasty. But I don't look at any of the others and go, I wouldn't touch Fred and McTominay, I wouldn't touch Maguire, I wouldn't touch Lindelof, I wouldn't go near Shearer or Wan-Bissaka. I don't really want Bruno Fernandes. Bruno Fernandes is the only one that I would look at alongside Mason Greenwood and, of course, Cristiano Ronaldo. I think Jadon Sancho is a player that's been mismanaged, but then I'm starting to struggle after that. Tottenham have got Kane and Son, then I'm struggling after that. West Ham have got Declan Rice and maybe Souček, then I'm struggling after that, maybe Jared Bowen. So really, I look at them and I think, if I can only take 3 or 4 players from those, it must mean Arsenal have got the better 11. Now, if we had the weakest squad, I'd say, do you know what? Our squad ain't strong enough. We're in 4 competitions. We ain't got a chance. But actually, we've got a really good first 11, in my opinion. And if people don't think it's a good first 11, then they must not be very impressed with the signings. But I have been. So I look at what's realistic. And I think, personally, that top 4 is realistic, because all of the other teams around us are shambles. The reason I don't think we're going to get it is because the manager is nowhere near good enough. And I think that we are in a situation where a lot of us on this podcast have been very consistent. I've been really consistent with, I've stuck to my guns. I don't like him. I don't want him here. And I never wanted him in the first place. I wanted Simeone or Conte, and everyone said we won't get him. And then when Conte went to Spurs, everyone... Or Rafa, yeah. Everyone soon went quiet when Conte went to Spurs. It was like, oh, he's never going to come to Arsenal, Conte. And then he went to Spurs and everyone went, oh, crap, yeah, we could have got him. So I think that we need to be realistic there. When I look at the other managers in this league that are doing better than Mikel Arteta with a worse squad, it's quite worrying how many there are. Patrick Vieira with Palace. I mean, unless you think Palace have got a better side than Arsenal, I've been well impressed. Graham Potter at Brighton, Ralph Hasenhüttl with Southampton, Bruno Lage with Wolves, Thomas Frank with Brentford. They haven't got the players we've got, and look at how well they're doing. So this guy is just not up to it, in my opinion.
Okay, you look at Potter, you look at Frank, you look at a couple of the others that you mentioned there, and they have built a culture, and they've got a young, small squad that have built on. And I think, in Arteta's defence, that is what he's trying to do, and get back to the core.
And do you know what, Ferg? You're absolutely spot on. So one thing I've been consistent about is wanting this process to be flawed, and saying that Arteta and Edu and all this not right. Do you know what? One thing I've been consistent about positively, what they've done off the field. I think it's great. I absolutely love some of the signings that come in. I love the clear out. The culture change is fantastic. I love the fact that, the players I'm looking at, I'm liking them again. There's no Mustafis, there's no Ozils, there's no Chak. Well, there is Chakas, but some of the players we've had previously, I wasn't. Yeah, let's hope not for long. I personally like what I'm seeing at Arsenal in terms of the playing staff, but I need to see results on the pitch. This is a results business, and for every performance that there is that you start to think we've turned the corner, there's always an Everton away. For every Manchester City performance that you think is great, you've got to remember we still lost that game, and trust me, there's a Burnley game coming not far after it. We've been knocked out of both the cup competitions, and we're out of everything because we weren't in Europe to start with. And for me, if he's going to keep his job and try to convince me that actually he deserves another season, it's if he gets top 4. If it ain't top 4, thanks so much, mate. You've tried your hardest. I know you love Arsenal, and I know you're giving it your best shot, but we ain't got time to waste, mate. We've already had 16 years. I don't want another 6-year process. Because by then, Ferg, in 6 years, Saka, Smith Rowe and Martinelli, trust me, they won't be here. They'll be at Manchester City or Newcastle in 5 years if we're doing this.
In 2 or 3 years, I get that. Yeah, listen, he is currently in Colorado. Arteta is seeing Silent Stan, who was also at the LA Rams for the playoffs, but he can't be asked to come to see the mighty Arsenal. I cannot stand the man. I don't want to have anything to do with my club, and I want him to sell. Dan, you were going to talk about this. Carry on.
Well, I just wanted to... It was more a question, really, if I'm honest with you. What does this mean? It was my question. Does this mean he's gone there and he says, I need money, Stan? Does this mean Stan's invited him there to have a chat with him about bad results? Does this mean that they're going to get together to say, look, you come to see how I do things, and this is what I do in America? There's so many rumours flying out there. Oh, he's going to get sacked. Oh, he's gone there because he's going to tell Stan, I want money. Oh, he's gone there because Stan's going to show him the ropes. What do we think?
Me personally, I don't think he's out there to get sacked. I don't think Stan's going to show him the ropes. I don't think anything like that. I think he's out there. He's been invited out there because we've got some time off, and the team are going to go to Dubai, and the transfer window is coming up, and it's to say we lost out on Vlahovic. You need to put your hand in your pocket, and we need to go balls out and get some. That's what I think. Trevor, what do you think that picture of Arteta says to you?
Look, right, Arteta won't be telling Stan what to do, right? Arteta won't be telling Stan what to do. From my experience in all kinds of industry at management level, it's mid-season, like mid-year. Stan's asked him to go over there to do a mid-year review. They'll talk about the good, the bad, the ugly. They'll talk about the future, the plans, the past. But what the crossing the T's and the dotting the I's are into that, we don't know. But it's a mid-season review. That's what they do, and we can all read stuff into it. And I'm hoping that Arteta has gone over there and said, Stan, we need a bit more money. We need the one last push. We're nearly there. We're not far off. One last push. Because Dan, you know what I mean? I completely differ in some ways to Dan's view, right? But you have to respect what Dan's saying. And the more you see it, the more you have to respect what Dan's saying. I don't necessarily agree with him 100% yet. But what really, really confuses and infuriates me, right, is the fact that we're not a bad side. We know we are capable of fantastic football performances. We know we have the squad there to win any game they play in. But a lot of the time, we don't see a committed or a full-on performance out of our side. So when you know that the players are good enough, but they're not doing it all the time, you do have to look at what else might be causing that to happen. You know, you do have to think about it. And Dan's right, you do have to think about that. But as for the Stan, as for Mikel over with Stan, there's a break in the fixture season because we were useless in the cups. There's a couple of weeks where we're doing nothing. Stan has said to Mikel Arteta, come over, mid-year review. I'm going to do your review. You're going to tell me what you'd like to see. I'm going to tell you what I want. And then you're going to go back there and manage the football club. Any more than that, who knows?
And I'll just say as well quickly that someone's just made a great comment in there, and I bet this is right. He's gone over there to negotiate a new contract. I bet that is what it is, you know. I bet that is what it is. He's going to get offered a new contract. This happens. Rest in peace, Arsenal Football Club. I'll tell you that now.
I can't see a new contract being negotiated or offered at this moment in time. The new contract, if negotiated, might be, but if offered, will not come unless he hits the benchmarks of getting European football, even if it is Europa League at the minimum by the end of the season. There is no way that. Well, put it this way: if Arsenal offer him a contract right now, no matter how pro or anti you are, Arteta, you should not be offering a guy a contract at this very moment in time. Apparently, one of our Arsenal targets that we're after has. Let me just share this with you guys. Fabrizio Romano has said
I've just heard about this.
Bruno Guimaraes. That Newcastle have put in £36 million, a €40 million bid on the table. What's the chances? An Arsenal target, another one that we're going to lose.
Go and get him. Go and get him. Go and get him, Edu. What are we doing? You're Brazilian. Go and get him. Fabrizio Romano is just, and he's very good, by the way. Fabrizio Romano, very reliable, has just said that he could be going to Newcastle. If Leon are wanting to accept for that much money, €40 million, why go and get him? Just go and get the guy. He's a massive upgrade on Xhaka. His stats are unreal in Ligue 1. He's going to be a brilliant partner for Thomas Partey. This kid is just what we need. Go and get him. I thought it was a summer move. If it looks to me like Lyon are in so much debt they need money, Newcastle will link with Bissouma and Bruno Guimaraes, two players that we look at that we need. go and get Bruno Guimaraes, even if it means they get Basuma. Bruno Guimaraes is a guy that I think personally would give us that upgrade on Granit Xhaka. So I think that is something that 100% needs to happen personally. I just want to answer a couple of things in the chat, Ferg, if that's all right, because there's a couple of people that are asking some questions, and I just want to say, Terry, I don't know if that's Terry Greenwood, is it? But Terry's put, Dan Pottsy wasn't around in the 70s. The reason is you can't compare this to the 70s. I hope it is. Is it Big Terry? Yeah, there we go. Dan Pottsy wasn't around in the 70s. Now, I weren't around in the 70s, Terry, but the reason you can't compare it to the 70s is because in the 70s we didn't have a shiny new stadium called the Emirates. Stan Kroenke weren't around, and we weren't sold a dream that we were going to be competing with Real Madrid and Barcelona. So we can't compare it to the 70s, unfortunately. We have to compare it to the reason that we actually went to the Emirates. And the other one is Heath saying, we've got a young team and it takes time. I totally agree with you, mate. It takes time, which is why I don't trust the process, because we need it now. I don't want it in 6 years' time. And trust me, in 6 years, Arsenal won't win the league under Mikel Arteta with this young team. So that's what I'm wanting to happen. I want to be competing with not just Tottenham and Man United for fourth. I want to be making sure we're competing with the big boys. And the only way to do that is to raise the standards of the football club as this fan base and get this owner out and get somebody in who can actually take us forward that's ruthless, like Roman Abramovich style owner. Because without that, I won't see Arsenal win in my lifetime, let alone Trev's. Sorry, Trev, I love you, mate, but
yeah, it might be debatable on Trev's anyway. So,
listen. Just to follow up on that, and then I know we're done.
Yeah.
We did have expectations in the 70s, Dan. We had massive expectations, right? But we took the failure better, not because we're different people. We took the failure better because there wasn't social media. Right? The failure came easier. We had expectations every season, trust me, especially after the start to the 70s. And after 72, we went to 78 doing nothing really, So we did have expectations, but we didn't have social media to make those expectations. So, and the last thing
I was just going to say, Trevor, I suppose in the 70s, as you say, with social media, you didn't have your sort of DT troops, whatever, those sort of characters which are all over social media right now. You did have them. They were in the pub. You would have one of your mates who lost his head every week and gone, that referee, Bertie me, he doesn't know, that manager hasn't got a clue. But it didn't get shared with millions of people. It got shared among your own people.
We were all the same. We all had the view that Potsy's got, that Danny's got, that you've got, that I've got. But that view reached your 10 mates in the pub, not like 10,000.
The 10 million on socials. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, and what you're right there is spot on there, Trev. I think what I was meaning was when you've got an owner that says we're going to go to the Emirates because we're going to be, competing with the big boys and we've got this plan and process. We didn't have that promise in the 70s. So when we're 8th, I can't sit there and say this is progress when I was told we were going to compete with Bayern Munich and Barcelona. Unless, of course, they got their B wrongs and they meant Burnley and Brighton. Perhaps that's what they meant.
We didn't even compete there. Trev, do you want to finish up on what you're saying and then I go to Danny and then we'll close?
Yeah, don't forget that Kroenke has wrapped a lot of people around his fingers. Even Dennis Hill-Wood spoke highly of Kroenke. He came into the club on a massive high. But I want to finish because I want to go round everyone, including you, Fergus, right? I'm taking the lead here for 10 seconds. Dan said progress this season will be top 4, right? For me, progress this season will be top 6. We'll be getting into Europe. I won't say I'll be happy, but I will see progress. I'll be watching my football team play in Europe and we'll finish higher in the league. So top 6 for me would see me satisfied.
For me, this season, I said top 4 was the objective. Top 6 would have been the minimum requirement. And it hasn't changed. I think we need to have European football. I said, but fundamentally, on top of those, the main caveat is we finish above Spurs as well. We got to finish above Spurs because I cannot go down my local pub and walk around this place with another bloody one of them just going, yeah, we finished above you. They've won back all for years, and yeah. Danny, your requirement for this year.
Go get Guimaraes. He's 6 foot tall, 24 years old, just starting to play for Brazil. A defensive midfielder, exactly what we need. And for the rest of this season, I bet you that if you could, I'm not a Marvel fan, you go get Doctor Strange, you go and get all the different timelines, and you put each of the Premier League managers in charge of this Arsenal team for the whole of this season, Arteta wouldn't have that team in the top 10 results. There's so many other managers that must be looking at that going, Saka, Martinelli, Smith Rowe, and all the defence and Ramsdale looking at that and going, my God, how is he not performing with that team? And we can pick little bits out of it and go, this is good, that is good. But when it all comes to it, it is not good enough. He is not doing what he should be doing with that team. He's done some good stuff, like Dan was saying, getting rid of the deadwood and some good performances. But if he hasn't sorted this out by the end of the season, Arsenal are not going to get. Remember the Leicester title? That was the chance. Everyone else was falling around. This is another season where every position is up for grabs apart from first and second. And we are not going to get another season like this. We're going to see Newcastle come in strong. And if they don't go down, which I don't think they will, then the next 2 or 3 seasons, we'll be talking, if we're lucky, if we get top 6. We are never going to win the Premier League again unless now is the time that we take it to fight with the big teams and get the best players. Because we've got the back, we've got the defence, we've got 9 or 10 really good players. We need 15 decent, really good players to do anything. And unless we get that now, we're never going to do it. Football's broken.
Danny, very briefly, Pottsy, very, very briefly, your thoughts on.
I think I've made it clear that top four for me is progress. I don't see 7th or 6th as progress at all. If I'm honest, a lot of people will say, "Oh, but we come 8th the last year." We were in Europe and we had a worse squad last year. We are a better team now, and we don't have Europe. We've got 1 game a week, and if we do not get in the top 4, then Mikel Arteta needs to go.
Okay.
Exactly the same.
If you want to see Trevor very drunk, 19th of February, the Blackstock Arms. Raiders.
And it's good fun when Trevor's very drunk. It's funny.
Trev messages me this and goes, fuck, 19th of February. I haven't even broached it with the wife yet. So
Riders of the night, not Raiders.
Riders. Riders of the night. Mate, I'm tired. I'm dyslexic and Irish. So, Trevor, tell everyone, you're going to be there, I take it.
Of course I'm going to be there. I booked an hotel. They're brilliant. If you're an Arsenal fan and you've never heard Riders of the Night, you need to get there and watch them. It's proper Arsenal. It's a proper night. It's loud. It's raucous. And it's Arsenal. And I love it. Absolutely love it, mate. And I'll be there. What's it? The Arsenal Tavern, isn't it? On the 19th of February after the Brentford game. Yeah, can't wait.
Guys, thank you very much. If you haven't noticed, we haven't been on Facebook, we haven't been on Twitter, we haven't been on all the other channels. We've purely been on YouTube tonight. Thank you for all those people who normally watch us on those platforms who've come across. This is probably where we're going to stay and just make it easier, because I find it better with everybody chatting on the one platform in the chat along the side as well, so everyone gets to know each other, because we do have a regular bunch of people that seem to come and watch us. If you do like what we do on the YouTube channel, click the like and subscribe, and then you'll get the reminders when our show comes out. Dan, tell everyone where they can find you, Pottsy.
If you want to follow me, I'm on Instagram now as well, but been on Twitter for longer. I know. Apparently Instagram is where it's at. Not that I'm really on it much, but there we go. It's at DanArsenal87 if you do fancy following me. I'm on the same old Arsenal and Lee Judge's TD as well. So if you do fancy following us over there, then please do so.
Danny, Bergkamp Wonderland, tell everybody how to follow and subscribe and when you're on next and what you're doing.
Next show is going to be tomorrow night. So far, it's just me and James. We might get a couple of others on. And that's the AFC podcast on Twitter. And there's quite a lot. Our Carl is doing loads of really decent tweets. I've done bugger all with that for years and years, but Carl likes to do some nice interactive tweets with people. And you don't want to follow me on Twitter because I just annoy you.
True. Trev, as always, thank you very much. It's been great, and you've been good with the old mouse and putting up the messages. Doing really well. We'll make it. Good.
Can you make Pottsy give Scunny his hat back before he comes on again, please?
I like that. I've missed Scunny as well.
On that note, guys, it's been brilliant. Thank you very much for everyone who's tuned in. Thank you guys for joining up the
Pleasure.
Arsenal.
You've been listening to Guns and Yellow Ribbons, an Arsenal podcast by Arsenal fans for Arsenal fans. Follow us on Facebook at Guns and Yellow Ribbons and Twitter at Guns and Ribbons. And remember to rate and review us too.